Nope.
You ready?
I can't find a place to get these printed, and we only have a black and white printer, and I feel like we got to have like color, nice presentation to show the township. So I think this place might work. It's about 30 minutes from here. It should be right off the highway, and then we have another hour and a half to get up to Athens after that. So
How does the presentation look?
it looks good here. Project X, top secret project. I think the important part of this is going to get them excited about taking something that's like a big eyesore to something that could make the town jobs and money again. I think ultimately today is about getting the confidence that they're going to be supportive of it, because if they're not supportive of it, we'll probably not do the project. What do you want for lunch? Pizza? There's not much around here. We're going to be back here in like 10 hours because it's 2 hours there, 2 hours back. We have a few hours in Athens. Probably going to check out the property. Then 7 o'clock meeting at the Township, which is like 7 o'clock. Like, I guess it's like probably it's a volunteer board. It's a small town. And ultimately, if they give us the confidence today, this will be probably a pretty regular trip because we'll be like staying here. This is like home base, 2 hours away in Pennsylvania, crossing the border to New York. And so maybe get used to it, right? Ready to go. Project X.
So, why are we even meeting with the township?
If the town doesn't say that they're 100% behind us, it really doesn't make sense to buy this. There's so many other opportunities out there across the country. Rundown motels are not like unique, although a lot of people look at this and think it's like an excellent find. It's really more about this fitting our profile right now at this time because it's 2 hours from the Poconos where we have the Rex and Ferncrest, and then it's a new market. It's still near New York City. It's the market that we understand, though. None of that really matters if we think the permitting process or there's going to be zoning issues. If any of that's more complicated than just like a really straightforward path, why put our effort and our money into this project? Obviously, the broker and the seller wants to sell it, so I can't always believe exactly what they're saying, but the assessment is that supposedly it's been on the side of the road falling apart for the last 10, 15 years. I actually don't know when the last time it was open, which is part of the reason why they think the town is going to be supportive of it. But that's also part of the reason why it could be an issue because it hasn't been used for that long. Any permitting zoning type of things might have to be done all over again. So like the use of it as a motel hotel is not just like turning on the lights again and saying we're back in business. You actually have to get that permit again as if it was brand new. Because it was a motel for however many years, 50, 60 years, the township should be supportive of that. That's the check that we want to have today is like, is everybody on that town board going to be agreeable to the idea of this reopening as a hospitality business?
So then if all goes well.
If all goes well, so like the contract is drafted. Like we've actually kicked it off like for a couple weeks because it's funny, and this is the case with many real estate transactions, is like we are the buyer, but the seller is like threatening to like not sell it to us because we haven't signed the contract that has been out. But we've all like incurred legal fees at this point, and like we all want to do it. But with this town meeting that I knew about, there was no sense in me signing the contract and wiring a deposit, which we would have to do to start like that closing process, that due diligence. $22,500 would be the deposit. And so like, I don't want to just like put $22,000 towards something if it may not happen. Like, yes, it's a deposit that you can get back if, for instance, the town says that they can't allow it or anything like that. There's always a risk. So the list price when we first saw it was $550,000. So I went to see it in November. That's what the list price was. Strangely, a few weeks later, the list price dropped to $510. They knew that we were interested. And I think maybe they knew that we were negotiating down around like $400,000. And we landed on $450. You can't buy this and open it for $450,000. You also can't get like financing that easily for something like this. Like the SBA financing that a lot of people would use for a motel or hotel is not available to something that's not in operations, or at least in the traditional sense. You'd have to do a lot more legwork to get money to actually reopen this. I feel confident that if we go under contract and then we really aggressively go after that capital, we need I'm saying we need about 1.7 million. It's probably like a $2 million project. And that's just for phase one. Yeah. I mean, if we go under contract, it's really an all out sprint to try to get this up and running. I mean, first we got to make sure we get all the money in line, which I feel pretty good about right now. Like we got a lot of good conversations going, but it's not all like done deal because I haven't really like aggressively pursued that, because if it was to fall through, I don't want to, go back to people and say, hey, it's not going to happen, which might happen. I mean, there's like today's the day.
What does Joanna think about all this?
Well, she doesn't really know if we're going to do it or not. We're like at a crossroads right now. It's like if we layer on more properties, we really got to start like getting a more robust team together.
Yeah.
Because right now the properties are run well, but they definitely are still in a little bit of a mom and pop stage.
Yeah.
And so I think this place is going to allow us to like level up our hospitality business. And that's why I'm excited about it. I think that's why maybe Joanna is like apprehensive about it, because it does mean that like this is the transition. Like 2025 would be a transitional year where we have to like start hiring talent that we don't need right now. And that's scary. Like we, in our past career, I feel like with United by Blue and what we've done in the past, scale is where things break. It's easier to have like a small, successful, profitable business. Like it's actually like small businesses, don't get me wrong, it's hard, but like there's something consistent and reliable about a smaller business. You don't have a lot of overhead, you have a smaller team, like you're not worried about payroll. Whereas when you level up and you get bigger, the reward is higher, but so are the risks. And I think this isn't going to be like the project that like makes us like a big hospitality company, but it does sort of set us on that path to like scaling. So we're about 5 minutes from the motel. Camptown is right here. That looks cute. They got like some cabins, and then we have, it looks like on the map and some signage, a place called Treetopia. And the only reason why I think it's interesting to see what's like in this 5-10 minute radius is competition is actually good. It's like, it shows that there's a market for this type of higher end establishments. Check this out. Let's go see. I don't know if they're open. Camping Reimagined. All right, so it's closed. It just goes to show you that there's probably people coming out here spending a few $100s for glamping, which means that if there's a nice motel like the Rex, something that gives people a nice lodging option that's, say, like not glamping or not a rustic cabin, we could probably attract a nice amount of people. This is like what the Catskills has that frankly the Poconos doesn't have as much. There's like a concentration of like cooler stuff, cooler developments that have happened, which yes, makes it more competitive, more things to do, more places to stay. Even though there's competition out here, there's still more demand than what there is being offered, especially when it comes to like a nicer hospitality, like experiential hotel experience. And that's what I think we can do here. Actually, upstate New York also has some of the original tech companies, believe it or not, like IBM has a massive presence, or had a massive presence. I don't know if they still do. That's where my dad started working in the 80s.
Oh, here we are.
Oh, yes. Awesome. So here is Budget Inn, as it was once called. Now, you can see what I love about this is this sort of road going up, and you got the single family home, which, like I said, if you've ever seen Psycho, not that we want people to think about that, but like you got like the single family home up a little hill, a little staircase, and then you have the 3 motel buildings right here. So I'm going to tuck us up here because I don't think people know that we're here, so we don't want to be seen. So what do you think? We made it, 2 hours drive, but it's 15 rooms. The issue that I have still is that we have very little knowledge about utilities, the infrastructure. I mean, it's like what you see is what you get right now. It's like some pretty rough shaped buildings, and the electric service is gone. There's no wires coming in here. We have like these telephone poles with the lights, but no sign of electric service. Septic is probably shot, but it'd be nice to know a little bit more about that. And then again, we don't don't know much about the well. I've been trying to get a hold of the engineer that supposedly worked on this site.
This group does not accept phone calls. You will now be
Must not be
disconnected.
for.
To select this extension, press 1. Extension
That's him.
2.
Uh-oh.
I think it's him.
Your call has been forwarded to the...
I've called him like a couple weeks ago when I first saw this, and then we've called him, twice today. If there's an engineer that's been here, maybe he's done a survey. I don't know. Like, he's just going to know a lot more than the broker knows, because the real estate broker hasn't been able to tell us much about that infrastructure. Yeah, let's give him a call and see if we can figure it out. Come on. Hey, this is Brian Linton calling.
Brian, how you doing?
Good, man. I'm coming into this not expecting much, but like, do you know anything about that? And is that something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know.
We designed a new septic system for the facility. We had started the permitting process. We actually got reasonably far along with the Department of Health, and I think that's, I don't know, somewhere along the way, State Lena just said, well, this project's no longer for us, so.
I'll take that in note as I go into that meeting. That's very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye. That went far better than I could have ever thought. There's plans, there's septic plans, there's potentially well plans, there's permits in for like all this infrastructure. Are you kidding me? And he's saying like the township would support it and actually want it. It was like the owner of it right now, the owner has clashed with the town, which is perfect situation, because then somebody else comes in, commiserates with the town, makes them confident that we can do it right. Come on. This is like, that was a good call. I can't understate how big that phone call was. The fact that we know now that the town might be supportive if we keep the layout the same. I mean, look, this is in really bad shape. Like, it needs a lot of work, but it is a cinder block wall. The actual like outside and the other side and the foundation is block, which is actually better than the Rex in Promised Land, because it's a little bit more of a sturdy structure, which means that yes, we need to put in like all new drywall, all new studs on the inside. We got to like tear all of this decking out. If we keep the layout the same, 15 rooms, same door openings and things like that, and if the township approves that and can move relatively fast, and since the permits are already done for the septic and other utilities, that means that like it really just comes down to execution, not actually getting the pre-planning work done. There's probably going to be some pre-planning, but not a lot of work if what we just learned comes to be true. Stars are aligning, although it is pretty cloudy right now. Like the engineer said, it's like all rock, which means that we got to go through that to get back into the back. So I think the economics of it really makes a huge, I mean, with just 15 rooms, putting in a couple $1 million to this, you know, seeing this again, it's got to really revisit that budget, but just make sure we can do that. But going into the back as sort of phase 2 could be really a lot more expensive. If we're able to get this locked down over the next couple months, we could probably get into it right away. And if we can get like the septic and everything like that done early in the year, 2025, I think the renovation, like, yes, I'm probably overly optimistic, but I think we could probably clean this place up, tear down these decks, get new stuff in, get like new interiors done, you know, in 4 to 6 months. It really depends on just how many people we get in here. But as long as the actual, like, once we tear out all the peripheral stuff around the building and clean it up, we'll have to get new windows, we'll get new doors, frame out the inside, get drywall in there, electric, plumbing, things like that. If we have enough people working on it, we could do it pretty quick, I think.
So now what?
Let's go to a cafe, maybe get some food and figure out what the next steps are, because I want to go into that town meeting like super positive and charismatic, if you can say that, like really connect with people in a way that I think if the person that owns this right now has like clashed with them, like the engineer said, like if I go in there and I'm just really like friendly and want to be a part of their community and their town, I think, and that's truly what I believe, and that's the type of person I am. But I think it's going to be about the human connection is the next step. Yeah, let's make it happen. If they're like, you can't document the project, we're probably dealing with a town that may not like us. We're at the Athens Municipal Building. So this is downtown Athens, sort of cute town actually. 7 p.m. This is our introduction meeting. It's like a meet and greet. We have our presentation printed. I don't really know the formality of this. We don't even know the format. Could be like people sitting up on a big bench and like looking down at us. It could be around a table. I sort of feel like it's gonna be more like just around a table and we go in and we like talk, or it could be like a courtroom. I don't know. This is the first time that I've had to do it. We didn't really do anything like this in Promised Land when we did the first project because that was sort of more of a existing business that we took over. It was in operation, so we didn't have to actually get approval. We just had to go in and do it. Whereas this one, because it's been out of service, it's not been a hotel for a number of years. It's really an eyesore when you drive down, which seems to be a pretty important street in town. So let's see what they say. Got our presentation. Really nice building. Oh yeah, super cute town. All right. Do it. Yes.
Right here.
Oh,
Can you sign on a sheet right there on the counter?
yeah.
Over here.
We would all love to see that property cleaned up. I want to keep exact plans of what they proposed, for the rest of that property, and I'm not changing anything. We literally could get started.
Just out of curiosity, if you can advise, like why has this not happened yet? Is there anything I should know about the property?
I honestly don't know. For the amount of money that the current owner put into this, it was really odd. It was within weeks of getting approved, the property went for sale. So
I think they're running out of money.
Yeah. Yeah, because they would still had to put a ton of money into the actual project itself.
well, I wish you well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If I'm back here, I own it, and I'll be ready to go.
Well, good luck with everything.
Appreciate that. Thank you, guys. All right. Well, I gotta say, it went good and bad at the same time. I'm not exactly sure how to really digest that and what my takeaway is. The fact that those engineering plans that I thank God we talked to the engineer today, cutting down the units from 15 to 7 to 8 that he thinks that it is approved for is definitely the sticking point, because maybe there's still a path. Part of me thinks that we're not going to double the rates of each of those units, which means that it may not work. If I talk to the engineer and he's like, oh yeah, it's for 15 units, I don't know what they're talking about, this is a full-on go. If any changes to the plan happen, it's a 6-month process. That means 6 months to start, not 6 months to get it done. When I was like, I want to do this in 6 months, I want to open in 6 months. So we have to figure out what the status of those plans are. We don't own the building yet and we don't own the plans, but maybe they can disclose some more of those details. I was really hoping that coming out of this meeting, I'd be like, yes. And part of me is like, the optimism in me is like, yes, this is good, especially when he said you could start next day if you use the existing plans. So I think the next step is really, what are those existing plans? And they're going to be very supportive. They laughed when I walked up there and they were like, oh boy, not this again. So it's been 3 years, 3 different people, it seems like, iterations of the plan that they've gone through to try to get this up and running. And I think there's almost like a part of them that doesn't think it'll ever happen. But then again, they've never seen me. Or when things are not as straightforward, that's when I thrive. Tomorrow is a new day. Gotta track down the engineer and see what those plans have to say. So if you're interested in this process and you want to follow along, be sure to like and subscribe.
Didn't Amir give you his personal number?
You're right. I'm gonna text him right now.